one that I forgot to list was probably also 1965. So it's kind of really funny.
That is surprising. I'm also too Jewish and too black.
Oh, well, you're not. You could be too Jewish. I don't know if you'd be too black. I'm joking. It's so funny. I love Vanessa Williams. If Vanessa Williams was Jewish, I would give her I would do something for her.
I think it's amazing that every time we talk about black women, you always go to Vanessa Williams, as if there's no other black women.
I think Whitney Houston is gorgeous too. I was just watching this thing with, maybe it was an Academy Award event where what's the guy's name who was opposite her in
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner was kind of tearing up at some kind of tribute to her. It was really touching.
That was her funeral.
Oh, it was her funeral? Todd's gonna come up here and say something about me.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little disappointed. A woman that I have a huge crush on rejected me today in a very nice way. So I'm just...
talking about that publicly is probably not, gonna do anything that will help you.
Well, I'm just very candid. I'm not trying to pretend that I'm anything I'm not.
We have Hebrew Israelites.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I can't bring Todd up for whatever reason.
Neither can I.
Maybe he's changed his mind.
Todd comes up so rarely, Clubhouse kind of deactivated his hand.
I have some question for AB. AB, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm still quite disturbed by the other rooms, the kind of question raised. And then after that, I went through the discussion between Tech Bruce and Taco. And a lot of the question raised in the other room were answered in that discussion. And yeah, I'm still processing what happened in the other room. Point number one. Point number two is, I mean, what is the difference between Gary Critical Thinking Forum and Healthy Debate? I was kind of asking myself this question. Because in Gary Critical Thinking, sometimes you have someone who can't present a critical thinking into his or her position, but was very emotionally disturbed by the title of the topics, right? The topic of the critical thinking forum. So they just express the emotion without offering any critical thinking. So the question is, what should Gary do with situation like this? And also, what do you think, Mojo, what would you do with situation like that? People just emotionally disturbed.
Yeah, let me just say this. First of all, there's big differences between Gary's room and this room. Gary, I think Gary's a really good guy. I don't always agree with him, but I think he's a good guy. I think he's well intended. And his spaces, depending on who's on the stage, it could either be fun or it could be terrible. But in terms of people that are emotionally disturbed, it's a fucking Clubhouse. Like, if you're not interested in that, I would say that you should get off. There's people on this stage right now that are mentally disturbed. And, yeah. just is what it is.
Dr. Jordan, I came up to talk about the bodyguard.
Oh my God.
Not to.
You're gonna start singing, Tom?
Bullying Dr. Jordan, Mojo. Leave him
I don't know.
alone. He's a
I
nice.
don't have pipes. I don't have pipes like that. They were gonna make a sequel to it, though.
Oh, really?
And it was gonna be with Princess Diana, but then she died. But she was like on board.
That's a piece of trivia.
Actually, we don't have our normal crazies on stage today. Where are they?
Yeah. Dave, when I'm in Gary's space and I hear the people come up, and usually you have some pretty smart people, like Anson's really smart when it comes to military discussions, and there's some people that are spot on, and then you just have people that it's nonsense. They just come up because they need their political view stated, but there's no facts behind it, and it's kind of what you're saying. It's emotion.
The thing that I struggle with in that room, though, is that as much as I do like Gary, I think without having chat and without allowing people to respond to people, like where it's just a conversation with Gary and the person, people can get away with saying some really outlandish things that never get checked.
I 100% agree. There is a chat that happens. It's on Facebook Messenger as the room is going, and it's 80% dominated by Trump derangement syndrome people. So, and if you take them on any of their, there just can be blanket statements like, let's see, today Republicans are immoral, things like that. If you take them on, you're immediately, labeled either racist or you're a misogynist. You get every term, but it runs simultaneous, and then it just keeps running through the messenger chat. But it's frustrating. Gary is a throwback to like the 1970s, 1980s newsmen who drank at lunchtime, and it makes me nostalgic. I don't always agree 100% with what goes on in this room, and me and him have had words I say over that chat getting cut off. But I think there's Clubhouse is a graveyard, and his room is one of the few places where you actually can have a conversation without it turning into absolute nonsense. So yes, some people get emotional, but ultimately it's a well-moderated room, and it's not stupid for lack.
I agree with you 100%, but I would also add that I don't know if I agree with Mojo entirely, although I defer to him 99% of the time on 99% of the things. Like, I think Clubhouse may have a kind of I don't want to say renaissance. I think it will eventually perhaps lead the way in many of the social tech spaces, because these apps where people are meeting in person are becoming so popular. The being digitally drowned, so to speak, by too much technology. This is kind of a halfway point. This is a hybrid where you at least hear people's voices. And I think we're going to move away from spaces where people are just text-based. And, this will be a happy medium. People don't necessarily always want to meet in person, but I think there's going to be a renaissance period for a revival for social audio. So,
Yeah, I don't think so. I think social audio is going to be thought about like as the way that we do about like adult videos, theaters that used to exist. I'm sure they exist in some parts of the world, but they used to be all over the place, right? And now you could just talk about, hey, remember the time. And I think our experience on social audio, we will probably look back and go, hey, remember when there was this thing where you could get on and you could like be around a bunch of weirdos and you could yell at each other and you could, but I mean, if you think about the full range of experiences on here, there's people that are sharing legitimate good information with people that benefit them in their life. I mean, shit, I've been in rooms where, and I'm not just blowing smoke up Todd's ass because he's on the stage for the first time in 1,000 years, but Todd's talked about nutrition in rooms where I'm like, does this guy know what he's talking about? And I'm fucking Googling shit, and I'm just like, yeah, this guy's fucking smart. And like, and so some of the things that people bring up, you can incorporate in your life because like somebody said something that you weren't even aware was a thing, and like the nutrition thing's just one of them. That's on the positive side, but I think it's so over-indexed on negativity that I don't think it's going to have a renaissance, because I think what will happen is, for all the reasons that celebrities said when they peaked in and then they said, oh shit, I better go, like the Kevin Harts of the world, I think that that's going to be the conclusion that most people come to, is like, hey, that seems fucking fun, but it's not for me. Kind of like a rave, or maybe like, this adult video theater.
Well, how long do you think people have to log into a social audio app like Spaces or Clubhouse to really get the gist of what it's all about? Like, do you think you can pick it up in a month if you come regularly? You think you have to spend a couple years where you see it evolve over time and see how things change? Like, what do people really need to become acculturated to a social audio app?
I think the first thing they have to do is come here and get bored. They need to go to a boring room, and then right after the boring room, they have to go to an all-black room where everybody's yelling at each other, and then they find something in the middle of that, and that's how they find their little place on this app. That's how I found my place.
Did you tell people, do you want to talk about, I've been working and just listening in the background all day, so I didn't really hear what happened, but do you want to tell people what happened to you earlier, or no, is that not?
Nah, that was just a dumb little thing that happens where, I get kicked out of rooms because I have opinions that people disagree with. That's fine. But I'd rather talk about a text message that you sent me. Can I read it to people? Dr. Jordan?
Wait, which text message? Give me
all of them. Full disclosure.
So Dr. Jordan sends me a text message, and he says, hey, are white people allowed in healthy debate still?
Well, because there were none of the original white people. There weren't even any of the original black people or colored people of color. There was no one I recognized.
It's the only text message from Dr. Jordan that I didn't know how to respond to. I was just like, I read it multiple times, but I didn't know how to respond.
I mean, I'm white passing. I should have said, are white passing people allowed in healthy debates?
On behalf of the colored people of color and teapot people, you are allowed in healthy debate. And I am unanimous.
But be careful criticizing Israel, you might get trouble with the law. First Amendment.
As you fucking
Facts.
Hey, Pamiri, why would anybody want to wish any ill on Israel?
No, it doesn't matter. Israel, Mexico, Japan, First Amendment.
What about the First Amendment?
I know there's people recording. I know you can get in trouble. They can label you anti-Semitic, and it's punished by law. This is all attacks on First Amendment. We know it. We know.
How are you going to be punished?
If you say something that, for example, you will report me and say that this guy is anti-Semitic, and then you start digging with those a lot of documents that Congress signed, which is you say something. If you deny, for example, if you deny existence of Israel, they will label you anti-Semitic and they can get you in trouble. This is direct attack to First Amendment.
Somebody here on Clubhouse, allegedly, somebody here on Clubhouse got pulled out of their own house and arrested for being on Clubhouse and saying a few things about wanting to go to America or wanting to just get out of the country, period, and not agreeing with the things that were going on with the war currently, and they were yanked out of their home, arrested, and there was a whole fundraiser thing on here for them.
Do you guys think this is okay?
Hold on, everybody, hold on. Amari, you spoke in generalities, so now I want you to be very specific. Tell me exactly what law and how that would be prosecuted, what you would say and what you would be breaching under the law. Please be very specific.
If you deny,
very slowly, I'm asking you to cite the law.
I don't know the law, but
Okay,
if you deny,
so
listen.
your ignorance is pretty clear.
If you deny the existence of Israel, is it anti-Semitic?
If you deny the existence of Israel, it is not against the law in the United States to deny the existence of Israel.
Is
Do I
to
think
be
you are
anti-Semitic
Yes.
against the law?
I'm going to answer you. I personally think that if you deny the country exists, it's a state, so we're not exactly sure what you're denying. The UN resolution in 1947, I mean, what exactly are you denying? But if you have that feeling, and I personally think you're a fucking idiot, and I personally, in my personal opinion, think that you're probably a Jew hater, my guess.
No,
You haven't
first
broken
someone listen to
any answering you. You have not broken any law in the United States, and you're free to have that opinion. So please tell me what law you have broken that you would then get in trouble, and what does trouble mean? Please define it specifically.
No, I have to ask this question. You're the lawyer. I'm asking question, and if you could answer. For example, I'm not a Jew hater, but if I was, is it against the law?
No. You can take your swastika and march in my neighborhood, and it's legal. Do you understand what I just said? You can walk around my neighborhood. You can walk around in front of Holocaust survivors with a swastika, and it is legal in the United States. So what are you talking about?
But are you only representing the United States, or are you talking about other countries?
Hillary, Skokie.
I'm referring
The village of Skokie versus a white socialist party. You can look up the case, the very famous Supreme Court case. It is illegal in the United States to feel hate or allowed to hate in the United States. It is not against the law. It is constitutional. And then we have a very, very famous Supreme Court case where a bunch of Nazis marched in Skokie, Illinois, which is where a lot of Holocaust survivors lived. And it was constitutional. So please tell me what you're talking about.
here. I will pull out all those 22 bills or something they signed in the Congress, go through them, and then come back and ask you questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I think
And
that'd be right.
if you be genuine, do you know anything when you can get in trouble by just talking on that social?
Yes,
No.
you can get in trouble if you have fighting words. If you threaten someone, you use fighting words, it's a crime.
For example,
Threaten someone. What's fighting word?
yeah.
What do you think they are?
I don't know, I'm asking you because I have no idea.
Here, let me give you an example. I'm gonna go home and find your Jewish wife and rape her and beat the fuck out of you.
Oh, okay, so threat, direct threat.
Yes, that's not
What
protected
if-
under
if-
our Constitution.
What if I tell them I'm recording you and I'm gonna find you?
If it is credible as a threat, and if you have the ability to do that and not have imminent harm, then it could be something that would be considered a crime.
because that's
Anything
you
involving causing harm to yourself or others that puts anyone in an actual real threat or harm on a child, potential harm on a child, you're gonna get singled out for it. You can be arrested for
Well,
it.
hold on. So the characteristics of fighting words, they usually are aimed at a specific individual. The speech must be so offensive that it would provoke an average person to retaliate immediately. And then there's a face-to-face context component where fighting words typically occur in close-up, in-person confrontations, not through social media or political protests.
But you can be threatened on social media. You can threaten.
Yes, you can, but that's something. But that's not the provoking nature of fighting words. Threats are illegal no matter if they're delivered by carrier pigeon.
So come on.
Oh my god, I want to carry a pigeon so bad right now.
Come on.
Carry out my threats.
What exactly are you asking?